Number 8, an anonymous question coming in. How do we know when to speak up about the truth of Christ versus when not to? I'm grieved by what I see being claimed as truth today, but I don't want to just sit back and say, I'm not supposed to judge. This is one of those questions where a simple answer threatens us. See, if I tell you, always speak up about the truth, then you're going to be reckless about when you speak up, right? You're going to interrupt like people while they're in the middle of a sentence. You're gonna hijack your business meeting at work that you guys are trying to figure out how you're going to handle this tech problem you guys have got, and you're like, Mike said always speak the truth, right? And if I say, oh yeah, find the right time. You got to know the right time to say the truth. Well, then our timidity is going to take over, and we're pretty much never going to share the gospel. We're only going to wait till someone asks us. In fact, I mean, how many Christians out there? Your philosophy for sharing the gospel is, well, when they ask me, like there's this mystical moment where you expect non-believers to go, hey, what's different about you? Right? And I'm just like, that doesn't happen very much, guys. Like that doesn't happen very much. So if we have that kind of like timidity where we sort of wait until the perfect moment, we've waited too long. And if we interrupt everything and hijack every moment, then we aren't walking in wisdom. So some examples Jesus gave. He went into the religious environments and he specifically, openly talked about those issues. He went out and he taught in public. The disciples, maybe they're a good example of this. They would go around and they would initially tell everybody the gospel message. Like, so they might go from like houses, hey, go to a public area like a marketplace. Basically, the marketplace was a place where it was acceptable in their culture to go out and speak openly, like about the gospel or about whatever, right? It was considered like this is the open square for debate and discussion about things. So they might go to those places. They would cast a broad net. Like, let's tell everybody the message. And then those who want to hear more, we will teach them more. And so there's this sort of like two-tier thing we see happening in the book of Acts. The wide net cast as far as possible. Paul going into the Areopagus, Paul going into synagogues, and he shares it with everybody there. But then later on, he's in somebody's home, and they're hosting him as he gives them more of the message. So I would say the initial gospel message needs to go out wide and broad and far, and further discipleship takes place for those who want to hear more. That means that when we share the gospel with somebody and they reject it, we allow them to reject it. This is not an oppressive, forced religious thing. It's up to them. So one big factor in when you share the gospel is, have they heard it yet? Has this person heard it yet? Because if they have not, then I'm going to be much more aggressive in finding that opportunity to share with them. And if they have, then it may be the decision that they've made, and I may be less likely to bring it up over and over and over again in every conversation. Jesus also warned us things like, don't cast your pearls before swine, right? Lest they turn and tear you to pieces. That there are times where you look and you go, I'm not going to share with that person. But then there are other times where you go out and share with everybody. One of the rules for the early church that was countercultural was they did not restrict sharing the gospel to like rich people or to influential people. They'd share it with everybody equally, and the message would go out and everybody was invited in. So tendency nowadays is that we tend to like gravitate towards the lowly and the poor, and that's probably because of the history we have as a church, just seeing that the people that are down are often more open to hearing the gospel, and those who are, there aren't not many of you rich and wise. So there's a few thoughts for you. There's no one blanket rule that I can give you on this. It's going to take wisdom and thought, self-awareness, awareness of your scenario. But if you're like me and you're on the fence and you're not sure if you should share or not, and you're kind of going like wobbling, like you feel motives and reasons to share, and you might have a couple reasons you're concerned about not doing it, I think most of us would do good to err a little bit on the side of sharing. Unless you are one of those people, okay, let me just speak very humanly. If you enjoy confrontation, none of my advice works for you. If you just enjoy confrontation, there's a process going on in your mind that's not present for a lot of us. And I don't know how to counsel you exactly on how to work through that. Some people actually enjoy confrontation. If you don't, if you're like me and you don't, then you probably should push your mouth open more often than not. If you do, maybe you need to go the other way.